Where things are certainly picking up in the Middle East. Overnight, we had U.S. fighter jets striking Iran-linked sites in Syria. Retaliation, of course, for attacks on American troops. This as Israel prepares to double up targeted attacks in the Gaza ahead of what could be a substantial ground invasion, maybe in the hours, days, weeks ahead. It's hard to say. A fellow watching this very closely is David Solomon, the Goldman Sachs CEO. You have to watch everything under your purview when you run one of the world's most prestigious and largest financial firms. Mr. Solomon joins us out of Little Rock, Arkansas today. David, very good to have you.
Thank you, Neil. It's nice to be with you. Happy to spend a little bit of time.
No, and I appreciate that. I do want to get into what you're doing there to help out small businesses, rural communities. It comes timely at a crucial moment. But to this backdrop of this war and this fear that it could escalate, and a lot of people go back 50 years ago and say, you know, could the Arab community rally around Hamas, maybe stick it to us? And we know what happened then. Are you afraid of that kind of stuff now?
Well, there's no question that that what's going on in the Middle East is incredibly unsettling. I'd start by just saying that the attacks by Hamas on Israel are terrorism. They violate our most basic human principles, and they're very unsettling for lots of people. At the moment, I think we have a clear view of what it is, but there's certainly a risk that it can escalate. I don't think that that's hopefully a likely scenario, but that escalation can have economic impact. It can have impact around activity around that part of the world. And so it's something we're all watching very closely.
Are you watching closely how some of your colleagues in the financial community are reacting to these college protests in favor of the Palestinians, condemning Israel? Some have said, in fact, those who are big benefactors to schools like Harvard and others, we're not going to give another cent. What do you think?
Well, what I would say, I'd repeat what I just said to you. I mean, these attacks by Hamas on Israel are terrorism. They violate our most basic human principles. And I think whenever there's hate of any kind, or bias or hate of any kind, and particularly terrorism of this magnitude, it needs to be condemned very, very strongly. You
have an eye for talent. You have a lot of great workers under your umbrella. Some of your colleagues have also said that they'd like to get the names of some of those kids who signed on to these positions just to make sure they never hire them. How do you feel about that?
We have a hiring process. We see lots of talent around the world. We obviously want people to work at Goldman Sachs that believe in our system of values. As I said to you moments ago, and I'd repeat, we think that bias or hate against anyone is unacceptable, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's hate against people in the black community, in the Muslim community, in the Asian community. Any form of hate and bias is unacceptable. And so when we recruit people, we look carefully for people that share our values of operating in an inclusive community and a supportive community.
You obviously look at the markets as you do for a living, and they have been relatively contained. I mean, they've been falling off, but for reasons having very little to do thus far with what's going on in Israel and the Middle East. What is rattling them, you think?
Well, I think there are a number of things that are going on that are affecting markets. The economy here in the U.S. has certainly been incredibly resilient. You saw the GDP numbers yesterday, which obviously were very, very strong. But there's no question that with all the fiscal stimulus that we've had and the fiscal spending we've had, I think that's helped or played a role in contributing to continued strong economic growth. But my sense as I get around and I talk to business leaders, broadly, is the consumer has a little bit less momentum. There's a little bit less savings. And I do think there's a risk that the economy is a little bit more fragile as we head into 2024. We're watching that closely. Obviously, uncertainty around the world and geopolitical uncertainty can contribute to a sense of confidence or a lack of confidence that can slow economic activity. But for now, the U.S. economy has been relatively resilient, but I think we have to watch it very cautiously given everything that's going on in the world.
David, I had a chance earlier in the show to talk to James Bullard, the former St. Louis Federal Reserve head, who's worried that some strong data we've been getting from the 4.9% third quarter growth figures to CD rates that are now well over 5%, maybe 6% or more competition for stocks, he pointed out. And now an added development with the UAW labor pact that could have wages going up for those workers 25% or more. That inflation could be back, and the Federal Reserve has to be poised now to raise rates in response. He argued in the short term, maybe as high as 6.5%. What do you think?
Well, I think the Fed has moved relatively quickly. You look at the pace of monetary tightening over the course of the last 12 months, the Fed has moved quickly. I think the Fed at the moment is pausing and waiting to see if the effects of the tightening that's gone on is filtering through to the economy. I think that the tightening effects are filtering through to the economy. I think we're going to see a little bit of a slowdown in economic activity. I think the Fed needs more data and more information. I think they'll watch it closely. I think there is a risk that rates could go higher. I do think inflation is going to be sticky. It's particularly present at the moment around labor, and so that has to have an effect that plays through. But I think at the moment, the Fed's in kind of pause, wait and see mode. I think they'll be very data dependent. And so if we do see a pickup in inflation, I think you'll see the Fed act accordingly.
Well, obviously inflation disproportionately affects small business. It affects a lot of rural communities, which could explain where you are today. It looks like an ice cream shop in Arkansas. Explain.
So I am in an ice cream shop in
See how quickly
Arkansas,
I picked up on the ice cream. I saw the ice cream, but go ahead.
You picked up on that very quickly. There's a small business that's owned by Sally Menkel. It's about 12 years old. They make their own ice cream. They sell their own ice cream. I just tasted some. It's absolutely delicious. But Sally participated about a year and a half ago in our 10,000 Small Businesses program. And we're in Arkansas today to launch an Arkansas focused program. This program has existed for over 15 years around the United States. We've had over 14,000 small businesses go through the program. And we've felt for a long time that investing in small businesses is critical to economic growth and job creation here in the United States. If you look at Arkansas, 99% of all small businesses in Arkansas, all businesses are small businesses in Arkansas. And it's a significant part of the job base in a state like this. And so while we've operated in large urban centers throughout the country, over the course of the last couple of months, we've been rolling out and investing in the program in more rural communities. We launched a couple of months ago in North Dakota, and now this is our second launch in a more rural community in Arkansas. We're committing $100 million to this launch in rural communities, and we're excited about the impact that it can have. And small businesses need help. They need access to capital to help them grow their businesses. And so one of the things that we're doing in the context of the commitment we're making is making a $20 million commitment to Hope Enterprises, which is a Mississippi-based CDFI, which can help provide credit to small businesses because that's so very, very important for that vital ecosystem.
You talk about availability of credit, David, and one of the things I hear from many small businessmen and women I talk to on this show and on Fox News is that credit is hard to get these days, and with rates going higher, it's getting increasingly hard. One businessman put it to me in a succinct way: why every time we do better in this country does the Federal Reserve have to raise rates, assuming we're going to go to hell in a handbasket? What do you tell them?
Well, there's a balance, obviously. There's a balance, obviously, to monetary policy and balancing inflation. Inflation is a horrible headwind and a horrible tax on small businesses. So it's important that we get that right and we get that balance right. Interest rates have been very, very accommodative for a long time. I look at these interest rates and I think about my 40-year career, and 5% interest rates is more of what I would call a normalized interest rate environment.
Right.
But when the change happens very quickly, as it's been happening over the course of the last 12 months after a long period of time of very accommodative monetary policy, it is shocking. It's one of the reasons why we continue to try to invest in small businesses to help them grow, to help them secure access to capital, because it's so important for their growth that they find ways to access capital. And there's no question, when small businesses can't access capital, they slow down their growth plans. That affects additional hiring, and that obviously affects our economy broadly. So it's an important thing for us to stay focused on.
Well, it's a good thing to stay focused on. To that point, we all live in our own heads, I would think, David, and I think I'm a little older than you, so I'm old enough to remember. I don't know if I ever told you this, maybe viewers once or twice. When my wife and I got our first home, the mortgage was 13.5%. Now my crew is saying, not again, Neil. But it's what you remember, right? So this is a different time. What you referred to as the average being 5%, that's about right. I mean, but there are a lot of Americans for whom this is a shock and a jolt, and it's not going away anytime soon. What do you tell them?
Well, I think that we can operate in a very strong and sound economy with 5% interest rates. As you point out, it sounds like, you got your first mortgage in the early 1980s or the late 1970s.
Exactly.
I remember those days. I graduated from high school in 1980, so I remember those days well. I don't think we're going back to that. I don't think that's likely. But I do think that we are going to live in what's a more normalized environment and not an environment where money is free. I think one of the great tailwinds we have as an economy is most Americans who own homes put themselves in long-dated mortgages that have fundamentally low rates locked in for a long time. And that's a hugely valuable asset, and it's hugely supportive. But if you're trying to borrow now for the first time, things look more expensive, and we're still going through a balancing period of that balancing out. But I think this is a more normal environment, and I think we've got to take a long-term view and make sure that people understand that and understand that we can't operate with a strong economy, even with interest rates at these levels.
But you are not envisioning like what we saw in the 70s.
I'm not envisioning that. I don't think we're going back to where we were in the 70s. As I said earlier, the U.S. economy is actually quite resilient, and it's been quite resilient. Despite this tightening, there are a lot of things that have changed in the context of the breadth and the depth and the complexity of the U.S. economy. But it's important we make good policy decisions, and it's important, that we stay balanced. At the moment, I think we've managed to move inflation, which was double digits a year ago, back to what feels like a more reasonable level. But we have to watch it closely. As I said to you earlier, I think it still can be sticky. And so, I think we have to watch the data and watch it closely. But the economy is resilient. Americans are resilient. And I feel we'll be able to manage through this on a reasonable basis. But I understand why people feel that the change, and this change so quickly after a period of very accommodative monetary policy, is a little bit of a shock to the system. Yeah,
it is a jolt, depending on your age. David Solomon, thank you very much, and congratulations on this effort to help folks out. They could certainly use that help. David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, and to his point here, we have interest rates relatively stable today. How long that holds is anyone's guess. We just seem to go in and out of teasing that 5% level on a 10-year.